is his name?
Jesus. His name is Jesus.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for tuning into Knights of the Storm. And Merry Christmas from one and all to you all. And it is December 27th, 2025 AD. I am your special guest, co-host, Angry Tiger. If you don't know me, now you do. We have Ashley and Karen Carpenter here, and we have Dusty, was it? The cat?
This is Rusty. This is the brother, Rusty.
Ah.
These are my two kitty bros, litter mates, 2 years old, and they weigh 18, 20 pounds each, which is why I don't have them in the room with me usually, but I wanted them to be able to say hello.
Hello, El Gato. Mucho El Gato.
I'll let him down.
Molto El Gato. Ashley, what's going on? I hope both you girls had ladies, excuse me, a wonderful Christmas. How are you doing? What's happening with you?
Hello, I am doing very well. We had a busy, lot of running around, a lot of procrastination on my part. Karen already heard this because we were on Dave's show last night. So I talked about the pain of being a last minute shopper and a procrastinator. It's very painful to be that kind of person. And, you know, I said this last night. My apologies, Karen, for reiterating this, but it does not sneak up on me. I realize when December 25th is going to roll around every year, but somehow I still manage to not be ready for it. So anyway, it went very, very well, and I had a great time. And Karen and I have been partnering on a couple of episodes. Yeah. We were on America Unplugged today. That was a lot of fun. We were on Dave's show last night. It was a great time. So I'm doing great.
You guys are cooking with gas. That's excellent. Glad to hear it. Yeah, Karen, how was your Christmas?
I had a great evening with my daughter and my grandson and my son-in-law and my husband, and I went for it this year. My grandson's obsessed with garbage trucks, so I did the research. I watched some garbage truck videos with him, different toys, and kind of sussed out which one would suit his fancy, and I got him a Brooder Mac Daddy garbage truck, and he loves that thing. So the joy of seeing him enjoying that garbage truck, it's just the best. And to see his attention to detail, and that he's not using, it's a toy and it's interactive and it's not a screen. It's just the best. So I truly enjoyed that, and I've seen other family too. And we're going to my mom's tomorrow to celebrate with my family. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I've been on some podcasts with Ashley and with other people, and with Tom and Dave and Billy Ray, Charlie Robinson, Wayne McCoy, Don Jeffries in the last few days. So that's always nice to share with our community. And so I want to thank everybody for your friendship and companionship and well wishes. We truly do have a nice little community here.
Absolutely. No, time with your family is priceless. I got it was one of the cheaper gifts I got for my granddaughter Evelina. It was just a little baby doll, and I gave her that. And it was weird because it was Christmas Eve. They were over, and I didn't want to give it to her because I was waiting for Xavier's Legos to come from Amazon. Right, I got him a Lego pack. He's into those. So they came, and I went and I gave her the baby doll, and she's like, oh, Papa, thank you. Oh, Papa, thank you. And I mean, she was just so excited over that little baby doll, and just those reactions are, they're priceless. That's what life is all about, I think. Let's say everybody, I know this is pegged a Christmas episode. Well, okay. So, we're all information hounds. So the gifts we're bringing you, unfortunately, are gifts of pain and disdain and destruction and imminent doom. So Merry Christmas. We're bringing you some coal. No, really. It's just that it's the end of the year, and what we think is most important going forward, at least myself, is this technological takeover we have going on, these data centers popping up everywhere. Just those in of themselves are a danger to us, a danger to our sovereignty, a danger to nature's sovereignty, and you know, there are a lot, just all kinds of different things, and it's a tyranny. Like this is it. This is the tyranny blocks, right? These are the building blocks of the Panopticon control grid, all the things we talk about. Karen, your take here on 2026, what we got to look out for.
This morning on AU, the question was, what's the biggest story of the year? And there are so many big stories, and that's by design, so many distractions, but also some very major stories. One of those being the crimes against humanity in Gaza, which, you know, are being swept away and downplayed. Of course, the Epstein stories, which I look at as largely a distraction also, although there is a systemic problem there that we need to discuss, no doubt. But to me, the main story of 2025 and moving on into 2026 and in basically the history of humanity going forward is the inflection point that we're at with technology in history and the battle to remain human, to maintain some source or semblance of truth. We're moving to an era where the truth and the AI, the fantastical, the deep fakes, it will be hard for people to discern. So discernment will be key. To me, the main story or the big danger is the digital panopticon prison, the digital prison, the matrix we're creating for ourselves in a group on the whole, with the data communication, with the 6G being pushed, which gets under the skin. As Donald Trump said, 6G will get under your skin. So Trump is pushing the 6G forward. He's had the big, beautiful bill and other bills pushing forward the data centers. We see the immunity of the AI industry as far as the states are concerned. States can't fight back. Hopefully that will be held up in the courts. So to me, the push and the inflection point we're at with technology, with the AI, with the digital data battle for our souls, our humanity, and our very reality and truth, that's the key story. That's the danger.
Ashley.
Yes, I mean, I think very well said from Karen. I think that what we have been seeing, you know, for many years, for all of our lifetime, and especially that has been expedited since Trump was on the scene. And of course, I don't think it's simply Trump. We know that. I think that he is just another essentially a pawn in this situation, playing his role. But we have seen the expediting of the technocracy, particularly in the last 10 years, especially since the rollout of COVID-19. And I think that whenever we had the $500 billion announcement in January of this year from Trump and Larry Ellison, I think it was very concerning to me. And I agree with Karen that this is a major, major issue, and that many things are being used. While they are important, they are being used in a distracting manner to keep us from being focused on that. And of course, all of the mainstream outlets that maybe most people would still tune into are certainly not warning about or talking to people about the surveillance state. So I think that we have really made, very unfortunately, a lot of progress towards that. We see the pieces coming into play as we go, and certainly, and Karen had talked about this before, but the movement of Trump to take away the state's inputs in regulating AI, and just things that we see them as a big deal, but maybe a lot of people don't. Maybe they don't even notice them, but they are key into building the entire surveillance state. So it is definitely something that we, that I think we need to be concerned about.
Both you guys are hitting home runs here. My thing is this. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you guys a question. One more question for us all, and then I want to do some financial stuff and get your guys' take on that. And then we're going to do some AI stuff, right? That's pretty much how it's going to go. And Ashley's got all kinds of wild things in her brain too, ready for us. Here's the thing, and I love this group, and I love the chat, and everybody here is very in tune with what's going on. A lot of us don't agree all the time, but the love that we have for each other, it supersedes that, because we know that's part of this. That's a big part of the spiritual war. I think tending to our spiritual garden, shout out to Skunk Rose Gardens, is it this most important thing we can do going forward, and we need to be very focused. And the reason I say that, because here's the question I want to ask everybody, is the most important thing domestically, what's the worst thing that happened to us domestically this year, or the most important thing in your purview? And to me, it was, again, I have to go to Trump, and he did one of the biggest bait and switches I ever seen. I mean, on a mass scale, and nobody's talking about this, but he said, I'm signing a bill, an executive order, no CBDC. They're not going to have a CBDC. And then they bring in the Genius Act, which is worse than a CBDC. And they're changing our monetary system. And that bill passed. It's done. It's in the record books. And they're going to change our monetary system. And everyone should be talking about that, because we live like that. That's our means of living. So that, to me, is the most important thing. Karen.
Yes. You're muted. You're muted.
Oh, I said the most important thing domestically. Sorry, guys.
The most important thing domestically? The most important thing domestically is our tech issues, the AI coming at us in every way. That we're losing our freedom of speech. We're losing the ability to. I took a deep dive into the applications that AI and the data gathering have, the flock cameras. And they're not just license plate or car identification. It's tracking individual people. There are drones that can follow and pan and zoom in on people in parks, in various venues, in wild places where we think that we should have some freedom to roam and to not be watched constantly. So the flock cameras now have the ability to track people and to zoom in and see what you're watching on your phone, to follow you through your day, you personally, not just the car. And then in for example, a coffee shop, you've got AI now tracking how long each barista takes with each customer, how long it takes to serve a drink, how long the customer remains in the coffee shop. So what the satisfaction of each customer may be based on their face. So, and then we've got ICE agents now using facial recognition phones and just walking up and scanning people's faces with their phone to see if they have they're wanted by ICE, or if they are an immigrant, and there's no permission required. So we're losing our constitutional rights and protections very, very quickly under the guise of the AI and the surveillance state and safety and convenience. And I don't think most people have any idea how intrusive, invasive, and already progressed and integrated this is becoming. So to me, the domestic threat, aside from the monetary system, which is key with the monetary system, is they're interwoven.
You can't have one without the other.
Right. It's this data. It's the track, trace, surveil, constant, everywhere, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. That's the domestic threat. And there are no protections under the law, basically. Some people are suing and fighting back, but most people aren't aware of it. So that's just
and the people that are fighting back, we'll show you guys later on, or they're getting kicked around. They're making it impossible. Ashley, mm-hmm. Domestically, the biggest thing to look out for that we got going on here. And they made these gigantic jumps all in 2025 while Trump was there. Mm-hmm. The disaster president.
Yes, 100%. And I saw a meme that said, it had a picture of Trump. It looked like he was snoozing, and it said that Republicans were worried that Trump was going to die before he finished destroying America. And I thought it was pretty perfect, because this is what we're seeing. And because it is not a Kamala Harris, it is being accepted at such a higher level or a higher acceptance rate, I think, for whatever reason. And it's very, very concerning what is happening here. And yes, I do, of course, think that the AI surveillance state, the digital prison, is probably number one. And I talked about this on America Unplugged, so sorry to be redundant, but I think that the two other things that are top on my list is calling anybody that we want to call a terrorist. And once the entity labels you with that, you are in danger. I mean, you're in danger anyway, but we see with the impunity that they're bombing the people off the coast of Venezuela, that there is no declaration of war. Venezuela did not do anything to us, and yet here we are. And then we also see them working in conjunction supposedly with the Nigerian government, and they did Christmas Day bombing. And they say that, in the case of Nigeria, that this is done because you have the Muslim extremist terrorists attacking Christians. Yet we obviously know that that is a lie. It is nothing that they care about, because if they did care about that, then they would care about Christians and life in general in Gaza. And they don't. Plenty of Christians have been murdered in Gaza in the genocide that's happening there right now. And of course, movement is not being taken against Israel to get them to stop killing Christians. So it's not about that. We know that. But essentially, no declaration of war whatsoever has been made. And yet here we are. We're involved in the Ukraine conflict. We're involved in the Israel genocide. We're involved now in Venezuela. We're involved in Nigeria. And what other secret wars they are waging that we don't even know about. So I think that the willy-nilly classification of someone as a terrorist, as narco-terrorist, or whatever they want to call them, is a dangerous precedent for us. And they started bandying around this language, especially after January 6th, about the right-wing extremists, domestic terrorists. We know that this is not a new trope. They have had their eye on this. This was a huge part of the OKC bombing, about people that wanted to have a militia and then being infiltrated and then being associated with this major terrorist event. So it's not new, but I do think that we are seeing it expediting. And then the other thing is, I believe that we're being set up for a major smackdown on our freedom of speech. Just like what we talked about, again, my apologies for being repetitive on America Unplugged, but we see this great noticing that is happening and people being allowed to say outrageous, in some cases, things about Israel or about Zionists or whatever you want to say. And I'm not saying that everything they say is wrong, but I'm saying that some of this stuff is pretty outrageous. And I wonder why it is being allowed to show up and to trend, and why it has been put on our radar, and why are we having boycotts against Israel to be made illegal. That's not new either. And then we're getting more speech laws in some places, like in Florida and things like that. So I'm very concerned about all of these puzzle pieces moving together. And as Karen said earlier, it is a very thickly woven tapestry with all of these things that we talk about here all the time, with our health, with our food, with the digital surveillance, with EMFs, with the financial system, with the housing market, with the jobs market, like you name it, it is all woven in together, and these pieces are coming into place.
Wow, it's a jungle, and I'm coming, Karen. You were just roaring like a tiger. Seriously, that was great. Yes. I mean, that was, if I had my thing, I'd be pressing it. You hit the nail on the head. That, we talk about in the Tigers, then the terrorist word. We've been talking about that for a while. I picked up on that right away. This is not, Biden called all the right-wing people terrorists. Trump's calling all the left-wing people terrorists, narco-terrorists. We're people, you can't come into the country unless we could see 10 years of your Facebook or whatever it might be. I think it's 5 years, and all this other, they want to look up everybody's butthole. Pardon my French, ladies. It's horrible. Karen.
I just wanted to throw in the Jesse Smollett. That was a person committing an atrocity in a MAGA hat. Am I correct about that?
Mm-hmm.
And that was the story.
Yeah. So, and I just wanted to throw it handy here. And we have a wonderful chat today, very active. It's so great to see everybody. Handy said, just a quick note from the road, the ERs have been packed for the past week or two. I asked one of the triage nurses if it was the flu. He says he thinks it's mostly cardiac patients. Isn't that interesting? I just wanted to throw those two things in. Back to you, Angry Tiger.
Wow, that's alarming. That scares me. That's the thing. I mean, it's like a jungle, like thick. Like you're going through the woods and you go through some really thick stuff. Even though I'm a woodsman, I understand the jungle is super, super thick, right? And the amount of stuff that we have to navigate to just live normally, and it's crazy. Let's throw some financial bad news on top of this. Can someone please add my screen? So I'm gonna run through this stuff pretty quick and just get your guys' take. So I'm gonna do these headlines kind of thing, and I just want to like sum it up with the direction, and this is where we're going, and this is why I want you guys watching and you guys on the screen to be laser focused on your survival here going on out. Even this stuff, even gathering, I think the time we know what's going on, I think you need to like take your knowledge gathering time and split it into something that's going to help you in a very hard time, whatever that might be, whatever region of the country you're in, and get yourself physically prepared for bad times to come in. That's just, I think it's super important. So record bankruptcies crush mom and pop shops as debt surge, which we knew this was going to happen. This was the plan all along. You got the bigs. We got a fascistic government. You got the bigs running everything. All right. People going out of business left and right. The tariffs come in, inflation. It's just economically, it's a wrecking ball. So we've got small businesses are being crushed. Corporate bankruptcies to a 15-year high during 2025. So these are corporations. Now we're going to step up the financial ladder in the business world of what the health is of corporations. All right. And we see it because if you watch the Tigers Den, I'm reporting every week on giant businesses closing their franchises down all over the place. Okay. Credit rating downgrade, weakening governance and fiscal deterioration. Again, another sign we're getting downgraded. The world knows we're not in good shape. Our dollar's not in good shape, and there's no natural buyers for our debt. That's why the Treasury is now borrowing money. And that's another thing that's happened. The Treasury is borrowing money to service the debt from the Fed, that they owe the Fed. Did you hear what I just said? That's where we're at. That's where we're going. Panera Bread. Here's an example of a company trying to work its way through rough financial times. Doing these are part of the death throes, right? They cut people. Now, no more fresh bread. They're shutting off their ovens. It's too expensive to make fresh bread. That's so they're adjusting to the economic climate, and that's I'm scared. Credit card debt jumps. I cover the credit card debt of Americans. It jumped $27 billion in 3 months, and delinquencies are higher than they were last month. And that's the financial world, ladies. That's where we're at. To me, this is all bellwether stuff. I don't have to read too much into these articles. I did look at these. These aren't nonsense. Okay. I watched them last night or read them last night. So these are all true headlines, true to what the head is in the headline. The tea leaves are bad. Karen, what do you think?
I think that we know that the desired end point here is, well, there are several end points, but technocracy, transhumanism, and more or less putting us back into a slave class or a feudal style of living, with the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer, and that class separation moving to the extreme, eliminating the middle class. There was talk in the chat about the attack on small business, which of course COVID was a huge attack on small business. We saw the public-private partnerships really ramp up at that time, and you were essential or you weren't. And of course, all of those small businesses and the independent grocers, farmers, craftsmen, plumbers, grocery stores, farmers markets, you name it. Those even practitioners, chiropractors, or independent doctors that are a bit outside the system. All of those small businesses are crucial to our well-being as a community and as individuals and as a society and as a financial system. So I'm seeing the continued attack on all of the things, all of the threads of the fabric of society through many ways, but this is it's an omnivore, but this is through the financial system. And then I think we're going to see a collapse, and we'll have to move to at some point. And it's been a controlled demolition, absolutely, to the digital currency. They'll say, oh, we have to do it. And most people will have no choice but to take that. And then we'll see the tokenization of everything, the tokenization of mortgages, of the natural resources, and nobody you'll own nothing, and you'll be happy. And I think this is all, steps on that road. That's
absolutely. No, absolutely. And the one thing you said, see, when the big businesses mess with the small businesses and medium-sized businesses, and a lot of it's done in a backhanded way through the legislature, right? Because they got their hands in everybody's pockets. But that two things get eliminated: price discovery. So your market's not natural. It's not real. Okay. And then another thing that's affected by that is innovation, because some little guy or some medium-sized guy might have something that's really innovative, right? But a big company, that'll put them out of business. So they're going to suppress that. And they don't have to kill anyone or break their legs anymore. They can just have laws passed in their favor to make it so that company can never, get there with it. Ashley.
100%. I think it's the further siphoning, just like what we were talking about here, the further siphoning of the wealth that the middle class has been able to accrue, and the standard of living that the middle class has been able to achieve. I don't think that the predator class likes that, and I think that they very much would like the servant class, the haves and the have-nots, to be much more clearly defined. And that is also very convenient for them as far as the control grid goes. Just like what we were talking about, that Karen was mentioning, the fact that we're consolidating all the way up to megacorp, right? To megacorp medical, megacorp pharma, like whatever you want to call it. There's so much consolidation that's happening, and it, like what Zoe was talking about when she was on our show, she was talking about the software that the hospitals were using as a way to track people's medical information, even if they weren't aware of it, Tiberius, and they didn't even know that it was being kept in the way that it was. And I think that there's probably a lot of that we don't know about. So all of these things continue to add into the data collection, then paired, just like what Karen was talking about, with the AI surveillance. Data on us is gold. They want to control the behavior. They want to have us do what they want to do. This, neo-feudalism, essentially. And so I think that it is the great taking. I think that's the perfect descriptor of what we're seeing. And the crunch is really on the working person.
Yeah, it's devastating. The prices are, it brings me great sorrow, because I remember how I grew up. And you hear your parents say that, right? And what you could buy and what you could get for $1. And now you don't want the things that we talk about to happen. And we're watching them happen. And if you're serious and you have continuity of character, you should be worried. You should be very, very worried about what you're seeing. So talk about tracking, right? And AI and all this. So this is Trump. Did you guys see this? Did you guys see him about Bad Santa? Tracking Santa. Not. Oh, well, no. This will be interesting. Check this out. Just watch this. Horrible. What's wrong?
Well, we track Santa all over.
I got no audio.
We want to make sure that
Can you guys hear it?
Being good. Santa's a very good person. We want to make sure that he's not infiltrated, that we're not infiltrating into our country a bad Santa. So we found out that Santa is good.
Thank you. Bye.
Santa loves you. Santa loves Oklahoma like I do. Oklahoma was very good to me in the election. So I love Oklahoma. Don't ever leave Oklahoma, okay?
So you guys were able to hear it? The audience was able to hear? Cool. So, well, I couldn't. Well, here's the thing, though. In the end, he's like, oh, Oklahoma was very good to me. But I mean, did you hear what he said to the kid about Santa on national TV?
You can't put anything past him. Last night, my daughter and her friends are playing a card game, and they talked about somebody channeling the Antichrist. And I said, I think it's the Orange Man, and they all laughed. So
a buffoonery. I mean, make us look like he's making us look like total buffoons. Ashley, we're tracking Santa. We're using AI too to do it.
Yeah. And then, from obviously it sounds silly. It sounds like it's not that serious, but I do take things like this seriously because I think that when children hear that, it's just one more little thing to get them to accept the use of AI. They're raised with hearing the word and seeing the instruments of AI all around them, then they're not going to be able to push back. They don't think that pushback needs to even happen because it's been normalized for them. So I think that normalizing stuff like this from Trump and in terms of Santa is not surprising whatsoever. And I think it's just to get kids used to hearing the term and having that association of AI and Santa, which is creepy.
Super creepy. All right, Karen, I'm turning everything over to you here kind of to run things here because we got a lot of videos from you. So
the link that you gave me, I don't have access to those videos.
I know, neither do I. I think all I can do is play them. You just tell me what to do and I'll play them, but you're
okay.
Hey, before we do that, guys, I was going to ask Franco if he could touch on really quickly the silver situation. If we could maybe take a minute of that. A lot of people, Tom was talking about it on Dave's show last night, and it was in the chat on America Unplugged, the chat a little bit here. So what does this mean? So on America Unplugged, Tiger, Charlie Robinson was saying that he felt like seeing gold, silver, and Bitcoin at an all-time high in October was potentially a red flag. And then some other people are saying that seeing them at all-time highs currently is an indicator that a crash could be imminent. And I don't necessarily understand the mechanism for that or how that would mean.
Were they referring to a crash in the price action of silver though, and gold specifically? I
thought that it was more of an overall crash. Like this could be setting us up for when they begin entering the UBI or something like that into the fold.
I think that was used, I believe I know what Ashley's referring to, was they've thrown the reset. They've flipped the switch. They've thrown the reset. This is what the silver and prices indicate.
Well, they have flipped the switch, and they see. But here's the thing that a lot of people don't take into account. These people are smart, and I've been watching them, since COVID. Really with a eagle eye, the eye of the tiger. And what I'm noticing is that everything that they do, they've learned they can't just like throw paint all over the wall. All right, they've learned that they got to boil the frog. Mm-hmm. There's not going to be like this immediate crash in the market until it happens in the debt market. Okay. And the way they're doing this is with inflation and with the tariffs were part of it. Okay. But the inflation in and of itself, what that's going to do, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to like hog time, girls, but I got to explain this.
No problem.
The inflation in and of itself, what that's going to do, that is the mechanism, okay, that will start the collapse where that's hands off. It's like hiring somebody to go kill someone, right? So inflation in this economic market that we have, that's, a natural thing, that's how people think about it. They just think prices are going up. People are losing their jobs. We're seeing what's happening with inflation. People are losing their jobs because people are backing off on buying things and consuming things. Okay. And there's this domino effect where you have the bigger corporations now are tightening their belts, closing up places, right? These are mega corporations, Arby's, Kroger. I could go on and on. They're Target. All right. These are legacy mega corporations and they're tightening their belt. So you see it there in the middle of the economic realm there, businessman wise or business wise, smaller companies and middle-sized companies are going out of business. Smaller banks, bad credit banks, those banks are going bankrupt. Okay, though they will be allowed to fall to the wayside. The middle-sized banks will be. It has to be a process, and they'll slowly get the American people to the point where they're basically on their knees. And that collapse that will happen in the debt market will happen when the banks default, okay, on the money they owe, not only to the lenders or to their depositors, but to their lenders, which is the Federal Reserve. It's going to happen in that motion. They're not just going to say and crash everything. As far as gold and silver, I know there's a lot of people in the chat that watch, precious metal stuff, and I see all this hype. There's a silver liquidity issue. There's too many promised paper notes versus physical silver, and they're going to call in these notes on January something, and everybody, it's going to shoot up to $1,000, an ounce. None of that's going to happen. Do you really think that market is just as manipulated? No one tells you this, and it pisses me off. Gold and silver market are just as manipulated as the stock market, as the debt market, as the fiat currency market. They are just as manipulated. And as long as you have the COMEX, as long as you have paper ETFs, they're not going to let all that just implode. There's too much money at stake. There's way too much money at stake. So I expect silver and gold actually to drop a little bit. But here's the issue. The only thing that I see is that the human action, the action of the market is all these things that they're building, the data centers, all this stuff. They need physical silver. So it is going to keep rising exponentially compared to your fiat currency. That's all it is. It's not an investment because they play with it too much. But as much as they play with it, they can't make it worth less than fiat currency. So I don't want to burst anybody's bubble, but don't get too excited and don't do anything stupid. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
So,
Okay.
Franco, is there a point when they are not going to be able to manipulate the silver numbers? I mean, this is something that Gregory Manarino has talked about for years, and probably you too, but I found Greg like early COVID days, and he has talked so much about the manipulation and the suppression of the price of silver. So do we get to a point where they are no longer able to manipulate that? And if we do, what is that point?
Can we get to that point? I would hope so. I almost think, Ashley, that it would have to be a total reset of everything where they didn't have any control. You'd have to have a free market. When we have a free market, you'll get to that point. That's the problem. Everything's manipulated, And here's the thing. I don't think anybody knows how much silver physical silver there actually is. Because it's all, I have this silver, right? And I'm a silver mine. Maybe they don't have all that silver. Maybe they're saying that so people buy the ETFs and they're worth a bunch of money. That's the problem with all of this.
Bulldog says they're decoupling the physical versus the paper silver. And I think they're making an attempt to decouple the physical versus the paper everything and move it into the digital everything. And they're scrambling to get that system into place where everything will be virtual and digital, and there will really be no link for the common people between what's real and the real commodities, the real resources. And we won't have our own input into that production and supply and demand and into basically the whole economic system. I think that they're just scrambling to get that all into place. And that's where the AI comes into play with that. And so LTO mentioned how key discernment is at this time. And it is, and it's a very tricky thing to be discerning and really have to be careful about things. If you want to move into some of the videos, we could do that. If you feel like doing that. I don't have. Okay. All right. This is
in what order? And hey, we're amongst friends, so you tell me what to do here.
Let's start with the flock cameras.
Okay, I think I have that one here. Is this it?
No.
Bill Maher.
No.
Do I not have that one?
You do not. Do you not have the flock cameras? It's that man. He did the flock cameras. Well, this is ICE agents. They're using facial recognition. The flock camera one, that was a great one, and
Let me
it's
see
on
if I
that
can
same
pull it up.
channel. Why don't you
Let
go if you want to go to that YouTube channel?
Yeah.
And he had the flock camera.
So we got AI cameras are tracking you in coffee shops. Does it actually the headline flock camera?
Police cars. It's a very popular video. Your doorbell.
There's a police camera. Let me see popular. AI cameras are tracking you. Your robot vacuum is spying on you.
Yeah, the coffee shop one is really good. That's a good one. This is how the AI is being used in businesses.
Local coffee shops have started rolling out AI systems to track your
You guys
every
can hear
move
that, right?
and make sure your barista is productive. Neurospot is an AI-powered surveillance system that's being deployed in cafes and coffee shops around the world. And in this video, we'll break down exactly how this technology works, the data it's collecting on both customers and workers, and why privacy advocates and labor unions are raising some serious red flags. Neurospot is an AI-powered software system that runs 24/7 on surveillance cameras installed throughout cafes. The system uses advanced machine learning to identify and track customers by drawing boundary boxes around them and monitoring how long each person stays within the cafe. Along with tracking customers, it's also tracking baristas' movements and measuring productivity by counting how many drinks each staff maker serves per hour. The AI attempts to estimate customer satisfaction by analyzing facial expressions and visit duration. All of this data is being processed in real time to help managers optimize staff allocation, reduce wait times, and improve what they call operational efficiency. The system is also being used to generate training data for robotic automation by observing humans complete repetitive tasks over and over. So essentially, baristas are training their future replacements. Neurospot can process video data locally or on cloud servers. It converts raw footage into actionable analytics. The system may not store full video footage long-term. Instead, it focuses on extracting and storing metadata and analytic summaries. This is an attempt to balance functionality with privacy concerns, although it's likely not going far enough. First off, customers and staff are under near constant observation. This feels like it infringes on personal privacy expectations, even in semi-public places like cafes, especially when you consider the collection of sensitive behavioral and facial expression data. One tech commentator perfectly captured the duality, saying, "As a customer, my immediate reaction is shock and fear. It feels super weird to know you're being tracked everywhere you go. But as a business owner, having access to this level of real-time analytics could be super valuable." That tension between business value and personal privacy is at the heart of this debate. Another critic put it a bit more bluntly, describing the technology as being designed to decide if coffee shop staff are productive enough and warning that it blurs the lines between innovation and intrusive surveillance.
A few
This
weeks
feels
ago,
like Big Brother
using
is
a
now
commercial
serving you a
search
latte.
engine.
The legal implications are also equally complex. Neurospot's deployment needs to comply with data protection laws like GDPR in Europe and CCPA in California. And in some places, there are employee monitoring laws that may restrict how much surveillance workplaces can use for productivity tracking. If cafes using Neurospot lack appropriate privacy safeguards or legal disclosures, they could face lawsuits or regulatory penalties. Labor unions are pushing back hard against this technology. Alex Pine, vice president of Blue Bottle Independent Union, stated, "The company cannot legally install cameras without first reaching an impasse in negotiations. Surveillance without worker protections for discipline is unacceptable." Irene Tung from the National Employment Law Project added context on the broader trend. Machines mismanaging human workers, constant micromanagement through surveillance. This is reality, but our legal protections are behind. We need policies to ensure technology improves, not degrades job quality. Without proper workforce agreements, using AI surveillance like Neurospot can breach labor laws related to employee monitoring. There are real concerns this technology could be used punitively to justify disciplinary action without human context or fairness. What I find most concerning is how this is spreading to much wider than just coffee shops. One industry expert noted that the real
There's a
reason
ghost
this is
around here
valuable is
somewhere,
because
Karen.
This footage will be used to train robots.
That's not me.
The best way for robots to learn is to watch humans.
That's
complete
crazy.
the
So how
same
far,
task over
when
and
we
over
lose it?
again. I wouldn't be shocked
'Cause I
to see
couldn't
if
hear
this
it.
type of AI camera software start popping up
can hear it.
everywhere. And that's
Yeah, I
just
can't
very
hear it.
wrong.
For some reason, I can't
Neurospot
hear what
can
I'm
be
playing,
adapted to
which is
various
okay.
retail settings beyond just cafes, buffets, hardware stores, basically any customer-facing business. We're looking at a potential future where this level of
I'm gonna go
surveillance becomes
to
normalized
the
across
video that
retail
you
and
sent me.
hospitality environments. Okay, so where does that leave us?
Hold on.
Neurospot represents a
Wait,
powerful
This- that's
AI-driven
still
tool.
playing.
Okay.
Okay, so the point of this video is
Sorry, guys.
the point. Thanks. I sent the flock video in X and in your text.
Okay.
In our X messages. The point of this video is, and I'm sure people can put things together with this, is that when you have a small business, and this ties in with small businesses or any business, you build relationships with people. You have interactions. If you're a server, you have interactions with your customers. You build return clientele, that type of thing. You have one of the best things about living in a neighborhood or having a place that you like to go, a neighborhood coffee shop, is that you go and you spend time and you recognize the servers and the baristas and they recognize you and you get to know each other. Sometimes you even become good friends. If you've got AI watching every single barista and their efficiency and every employee and how long they talk to each person, where they move, and also watching customers and how long they stay. And so if the bottom line is efficiency and money, the bottom line is the dollar, that destroys some of the best parts about going to a coffee shop or going to a restaurant or the small businesses or venues, live music venues, or things that have, say, a coffee shop where you sit and have music and then there's somebody playing live music and then you can have drinks or snacks. And so you're going to have people spending time with one another, and that's a positive thing. So, and to know that no matter where you are, you're being watched that way on the job or in a business or an establishment, getting a meal, it changes the way you act. It's a well known. If you just think about, they say dance like nobody's watching. When we know somebody's watching, we tend to behave differently. And part of being human is that spontaneity. And so that will stifle a lot of our spontaneity if we allow these constant surveillance cameras and presences to be everywhere we move.
AI is going to think like Mr. Spock all the time, and we don't live in a world where everything is logical. Ashley.
Yes, I definitely agree with that sentiment that it does change human interaction and it is disconcerting and it's very dystopian. Obviously, we all know that, but it's literally straight out of 1984 and any other dystopian movie or novel that you can think of. So that's one thing. And the other thing that I wanted to chime in on this is that this is like, we got used to this, this was mainstreamed in Office Space, but as a joke, but we saw this especially in the 90s and 2000s and beyond, that there was an obsession with streamlining efficiency, with saving money, with making processes faster, better, produce more. And what we're seeing here is really a continuation of that. So in traditional manufacturing at some of the big places, at least here in the United States and global companies, I'm sure, they are constantly doing Six Sigma programs. They're trying to figure out how they can do projects to save money here and save money there, constantly hammering efficiency. And then they're also doing this with when people are working, a team is working on the machine, it's exactly like this without the AI, and they'll do a spaghetti diagram. So they'll hand watch a crew working on a specific task, and they will watch and see who goes where, how many steps they take, how far it is, how many trips are taken, in the entire thing for this spaghetti diagram, so that they can identify, all of this information, how long it takes, where can we cut steps, save energy, and increase efficiency. So I think that it is like that on steroids, of course, with AI. And I think that the hammering nonstop for efficiency for so many years will get people more used to the idea, oh yeah, we're just doing this for efficiency. But obviously at a point it becomes egregious, it becomes invasive, and it's a violation. And to what end? To what end? You know, it's always the dollar, but
Mhm.
I just think that there has to be some end when the money is enough. I don't, but it never is. So I don't know. It's crazy.
No, and the economic climate adds to that necessity to be that way when you're running a business. You know, it's an old saying, we're running lean, right? That's, you know, and so the more efficient you can get, the better, but you shouldn't have to do all of this to be so efficient because everything costs so
At what
much to
cost?
produce.
Deb says in chat, and this is a good point, and this what happened to the fewer hour work week and job sharing with inception of the computer? So we were sold this pie in the sky, Rosie the robot on the Jetsons doing the chores and things, you know, making life easier for us. But instead it's taking our jobs, taking our creativity, taking our human interaction and the things that we enjoy and that make life fulfilling. And I think that many, many people are starting to see that, to realize that. The question is, can we raise their awareness about how this is working, the way that it's already been moved in so many ways insidiously, how it's working and how we can possibly fight back, and we'll raise that awareness quickly enough. But yes, what happened to the convenience and the fewer work hours? Of course, we realized that was never the intention. So hopefully people are coming to that awareness at this point.
I hate to say this, and you can call me a Luddite all you want, but in my view, the technological age has done more destruction to mankind than it has helped us on a large level, not on an immediate level and not on an instant gratification level, but on a large level. We have been totally unplugged from where we're supposed to be.
I agree.
We've got this next video about the flock camera. Just give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear it, Karen. That's all I need, because I probably won't be able to.
A few weeks ago, using a commercial search engine, I very easily found the administration interfaces for dozens of flock safety cameras. I shared this information with 404 Media, and with John Gaines' help, that number quickly grew to nearly 70. None of the data or video footage was encrypted. There was no username or password required. These were all completely public-facing for the world to see, and some of them still are. You don't have to be an expert to find and gain access to this. You don't even have to type anything in to see every single person, vehicle, and activity that took place in these locations in the last 31 days. Whether you wanted to watch this footage live in real time or look at footage from a month ago, you could just point and click your way to it like you were watching Netflix. You could even open up the live streams in VLC or cast it to a television. Making any modification to the cameras is illegal, so I didn't do this, but I had the ability to delete any of the video footage or evidence by simply pressing a button. I could see the paths where all of the evidence files were located on the file system, and I could see their hashes and signatures. Some of the devices we saw were the familiar-looking Falcon cameras that you see all over the country, but the majority of these were Flock's new Condor cameras, which are designed to detect and track people. They're PTZ cameras, meaning pan, tilt, zoom. And they quite literally use AI to zoom in and follow you around whether you're a person of interest or not. In just the time that it took to count and verify these vulnerabilities, I saw a family in North Carolina load their infant and a bunch of merchandise in a Lowe's parking lot. And I suppose one could cross-reference their license plate with the Park Mobile data breach and find out exactly where the garage is that will store these new fancy tools. I watched a man leave his house in the morning in New York. I watched a woman jogging alone on a forest trail in Georgia. This trail had multiple cameras, and I could watch a man rollerblade and then take a break to watch rollerblading videos on his phone. How? Because the camera's AI automatically zoomed in on it. Just like it zoomed in on a couple arguing at a street market in Atlanta. So what? They're still anonymous, right? No, they're not. Within 2 minutes of open source intelligence using a commercial facial recognition engine, I found out that one of them just finished medical school and the other is dealing with chronic irritable bowel syndrome. The couple also just had a baby last year and they have a pretty concerning debt to income ratio. I also know that they drove over 45 minutes from their address in the suburbs to attend church in Atlanta that morning, and then they checked out this market and bought a sweater. I watched a law enforcement officer and ambulance escort a man having a mental health crisis in Iowa. I know this because the Cedar Rapids Police Department maintains a public database of every single emergency call in the city, as well as daily arrest reports with individuals' names, addresses, ages, and genders. Listen, I know that I'm being creepy right now. Just saying these words out loud nauseates me. But I'm trying to show you just a fraction of the information that anyone in the world with access to a commercial search engine has had regarding anyone who attended this market or walked on this trail in the last 31 days. And it gets worse. Here's an exposed flock safety camera permanently pointed at a playground near the Bay Area in California, openly and publicly broadcasting both live and archived video footage of young children playing unattended. Again, just saying this stuff out loud feels so incredibly wrong. But for me personally, the most impactful moment while validating these vulnerabilities was this. This resonated with me so much that I actually had tears welling up in my eyes. I've done this exact same thing so many times. I've seen a swing set in an empty park, looked around to make sure nobody was watching, and then just enjoyed the mindless motion that connected me to a simpler time. But this isn't something that most grown men want to be seen doing. The experience requires one to have a moment that is devoid of judgment. It's healthy escapism at its finest. And I realized that it's likely that this man didn't know that he was being recorded. And he probably wouldn't have done this if he had. This is a classic example of the Hawthorne effect, which is a change in an individual's behavior or choices when they know that they're being observed. Surveillance manufacturers love to talk about this effect when it deters crime. After all, someone isn't as likely to break into a car that's parked near a camera. But what they don't talk about is how it deters escapism. People are less likely to sing or dance or practice an accent or a cartwheel when they know that they're being watched. But escapism is often required for a lot of things. For example, when you learn an instrument or practice a skill for the first time, or even practicing line delivery for a YouTube video. The footage of the man swinging was powerful to me because it made me realize exactly why I have such a visceral objection to mass surveillance. It imposes on our right to find our own identities without judgment. And as someone whose identity and success is owed to ample amounts of escapism, this is a hill that I am willing to die on. I don't have the luxury to dedicate even more months to yet another flock safety vulnerability, but as you can see, this one is urgent. And frankly, I'm worried that it's already being exploited at the cost of the individuals who are unaware that there are even cameras in these locations. So I got in touch with 404 Media, who has been paramount in this same field of journalism and whose reporting has tremendously helped my research and content.
Together with YouTuber Ben Jordan, we found about 60 flock condor cameras that appear to be streaming directly to the internet without any sort of password, no protection whatsoever. These appear to be condor cameras, and they're designed to track people as they sort of go about their business. And of course, people don't have any idea that this is happening.
If you're coming into this cold, here's some context. A little over a month ago, I released a video detailing a long list of security vulnerabilities with hardware and services in the flock safety ecosystem. There are over 60 published vulnerabilities, so if that concerns you, check that video out. During and after the process of conducting that research and making that video, I was visited by the police and had what I believed to be private investigators outside my home photographing me and my property and bothering my neighbors. John Gaines, or Gainsec, the brains behind most of this research, lost employment within 48 hours of the video being released. And the sad reality is that I don't view these things as consequences or punishment for researching security vulnerabilities. I view these as consequences and punishment for doing it ethically and transparently. I've been contacted by people on or communicating with civic councils who found my videos concerning, and they shared Flock Safety's response with me. The company claimed that the devices in my video did not reflect the security standards of the ones being publicly deployed. The CEO even posted on LinkedIn and boasted about Flock Safety's security policies. So I formally and publicly offered to personally fund security research into Flock Safety's deployed ecosystem. But the law prevents me from touching their live devices, so all I needed was their permission so I wouldn't get arrested, and I was even willing to let them supervise this research. I got no response. But now, since the general public has access to live video feeds from search engines, let's just save the back and forth, and I'll literally read you Flock Safety's response to IPVM about their security from a brand new Flock Safety camera that's publicly deployed. Might as well, it's my tax dollars that paid for it. Flock is committed to continuously improving security. The devices in this YouTube video were not connected to the cloud, and to the best of our knowledge, not customer installed, so the security is akin to factory setting. It's like looking at an iPhone stolen off a truck before it was ever connected to the cloud. If a person were able to gain physical access to the device leased to the city, which is illegal, they still would not be able to gain access to the footage, as the data is only stored for a very limited time duration on the device following its transmission to the cloud. None of these vulnerabilities affect our cloud platform, where the vast majority of all evidence and metadata is stored.
I found another one at Young Street and Harris Road, also in Bakersfield, which is about 15 minutes from the other spot. So I'm going to go walk up to that now. You can actually see it.
Can my dad go from XL to M with walking by Halloween?
Regular walking?
Okay. So you weren't able to hear that, Franco? Oh, you're muted.
No, but I put the captions up so I could read along with it. And I
Okay.
got the gist of that is horrifying.
It's a long video, and we may have lost some people there, but the gist of it is the Flock cameras are deployed. There are many municipalities, cities, counties that have them. And you name it, they're everywhere. And they have 60 security or vulnerabilities, and these people were doing some research on Flock cameras and on safety in general on the net and AI and surveillance. And Chris is saying it is horrifying. It is. So people they were able to just go on the internet and find Flock cameras in parks, focused on playgrounds, openly streaming to the internet, where children were coming and going, and they were able to use open source, freely available facial recognition software and other software to find out who these people were, where they'd been shopping, if one of the families, had a new baby, they were deeply in debt, somebody had just been to the emergency room and they knew why they were in the emergency room. So all of this is freely streaming to the internet, and of course Flock says that was a mistake and they fixed the issue, but the thing is that I'm sure that that's just the tip of the iceberg, and I wanted to bring that example of, we're told that this is all safe and secure and we should trust these people, they know what they're doing. And I've watched many more of the videos on these researchers' channels, and the fact of the matter is that they say that for example, Doge, that the level of security used for Doge for their transactions and the things that they posted, or the operations that they were doing, the level of technical security and their technical acumen was sorely lacking, that they were very shoddy. It was all very shoddy workmanship and security. And I'm afraid that that's what we're up against more than we would want to imagine.
Nightmare. Ashley, what do you think of that nightmare? You know what, though? I read a book that was, I think it was published in the late 80s about DARPA, and they could read the Surgeon General's label on the back of a cigarette pack back then from space. Ashley.
Yeah, I do think that it is really interesting. I mean, of course, we're seeing it happen all over. We all know, just driving down the interstate, like there's cameras, there's radar, there's cameras everywhere you go when you're out and about. So I'm curious to do some deep diving myself and to see where they're at in my area, and what can citizens do to to combat this. I don't know really what can be done. Not that nothing can be done. I just don't know what it is at this point and how you could even be an activist against this. I guess it would start by just raising the red flag and letting people know, because a lot of people probably are not aware of the specifics and the widely available nature of the material. So I think that would be a good place for us to start, is to find out where these are at in our area. And then, of course, just like what everybody else is saying, it's dystopian. It's a nightmare, because I think that this is obviously going to be used and abused against us, and that we are going to be having our behavior patrolled and controlled. And this ties in perfectly with the social credit score. They say, now, is this 100% true? I don't know. I have not been to China to speak with someone and observe it for myself, but they say that there are, even if you were to jaywalk or something like that in China, that they will see that, they will know that, and you lose score on your social credit score. So is that where we're headed? It certainly seems that way, but I hope not.
I don't know. This thought just came to me. This is nothing. I mean, I guess it has something to do with everything. How much more can they pile on? How much more? How worse? How thick can the jungle get? I mean, honestly, it's just like, almost like we want to tell people, these people are, the problem is, and you can't get mad at them. They're just trying to survive what they know. Right. And then there's what they don't know, which is making it hard to survive with what they know. Do you know what I'm saying? Within the system that they know. Absolutely. They really don't know the system, and they're just trying to survive. And we're here looking at all this stuff, and it's just like, I don't even know what to say. It's like getting buried.
I agree. I forgot what I was going to say. My cat Dusty just walked by, the other cat bro who's also big and huge and fluffy. I think, well, I was thinking of my daughter, for example, and the pushback. We need to do pushback. I know what I was going to say. Denver had a huge battle publicly with the city council and citizens groups, neighborhood groups. The videos are online, and I do have those videos available if anybody's interested. Where they had a citizen leader, and they had public meetings and fought back against the flock cameras. They had some city council members who were on the side of the public. Very heated discussions and arguments. The mayor of Denver was kind of duplicitous, and so it turned out that Denver was told that certain neighborhoods that there would be flock cameras, but that they would not be part of a network, that their flock cameras would not be connected with everybody else's flock cameras. But it turned out that the Denver cameras ended up being connected to the nationwide flock camera network, which means the information is in the cloud, the flock cloud. And that information, the Denver citizens were told that it would just stay local to the Denver Police Department. Somebody would have to have a warrant to get the information. But once the flock cameras were connected to the whole national flock camera network, of course, the information belonged to flock, and anybody could, in their system could get it, and it would be on the flock cloud. So all these assurances that were given to the citizens of Denver when they agreed to the flock cameras were all broken. They were all empty promises. They had no local privacy. There was no, this stays on a server that the police department has. You need a warrant to get the information. All of that went out the window. So Denver is in a battle about that right now. And there have been some cities that have had the flock cameras turned off. So I think, and this is true with the data centers too. Some cities have had temporary stays about the data centers or been able to thwart their installation at this point, but they know they have to stay vigilant because they'll keep trying to get those data centers built, going through another name, another company, through a back door somehow. So
it's a train wreck. They're not going to, it's a freight train. It's like the railroad, Karen. It's not going to get, there's no way they're going to stop it. Real quick. And you know what, instead of watching this video, you watched this video, right?
Oh, that's a car video. That's not really
Let's get into this one then.
well, that one is more. I'll just talk you through this one. This is the
Yeah,
channel.
I think everybody would rather hear us talk than watch the video
Okay.
sometimes.
All right. This is the channel that Scott Helmer just went on. This is he said he had done another. This is the channel of a man who's an artist, a creative artist, and he does a lot of breakdowns about the history of artists and the occult meanings. Really interesting videos. He has guest artists on. So he had Scott Helmer on. So I started watching quite a few videos on his channel, and he's an artist himself. And the point he was making in this video is that as an artist, you build your craft. It's blood, sweat, and tears that goes into that inspiration and that creativity. And that with the AI, we're having it's like kind of like stolen valor in a way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's not it's the human quality, it's the honing of the craft, it's the struggle that inspiration often comes out of. It's he likened it to ayahuasca, where people thought that they got enlightenment just by having an ayahuasca trip, whereas some people meditate and go on spiritual journeys for many years to gain some level of spiritual growth and understanding. It's that way with art too. It's a creative journey, and it takes many years. Sometimes you're successful commercially or not, but it's the journey and the humanity, the struggle, the creativity, the talent that is so precious about art. And I think that that's something that we'll see. This is something, a point I wanted to make about America Unplugged today also, was that there will be, I believe, a premium on actual human art, actual human sculpture, actual human created music. And you can, I would say, you can bet your bippy that's an old, what's that from, Laughing or something? You can bet your bippy that the power elites, Mr. Global, those people in the upper 0.1%, their children will have art tools and supplies. They will be reading books. They will be learning instruments, and they will be enjoying the finer things in life and the gifts that we've all been given.
AI is a shortcut. And to your point, you're taking away the most important thing to me is the power process, what we get unplugged from. You're taking away the ability to say, hey, here's my goal. I have to do these things in order to achieve that goal. And then achieving that goal and having the spiritual satisfaction and the enrichment and the learning process that you went through to get to that point. Even though it might take, you could do it with AI in 15 minutes, and it might take you years to, what's the difference? It's cheating. It's taking a shortcut.
Who wants it? Who wants that? To me, it's cheap. And tacky. I don't want it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, yeah, it's just cheating. That's all. It's the best way to, I guess, describe it. Ashley.
Excuse me. Yes. And I see this as a continuation of the dumbing down of America in this particular aspect. So obviously the videos that Karen has brought today, it's in our discussion, this is such a wide-reaching issue. But in this particular context, yes, it is harmful to artists that are that are trying to make their way by human-made art and creativity and the time and effort put into the skill. But it is also continuing the dumbing down of the American population. And we know that with the public education system, that it was influenced and designed to be able to create compliant workers, not critical thinkers. And now here we are, that this has been many decades now, and we're in really bad shape. If you talk to people in the education system about what is the intellect and the behavior of a current student look like today, it is absolutely regressed, and their intellect and their capability has not, for the most part, improved, like, overall. So I think that this is a continuation of that. And we know that they have the desire to have AI in the classroom. And I know an educator who was actually training AI. And this is a couple years ago that he was doing that. And I was thinking to myself, you know that you're training it to do your job, right? And so it's just another step in removing the human interaction in education as well. So, and I think that what we will likely see, and this is just speculation on my part, but in like we were talking about with the consolidation of so many other things all the way up to the top, I believe that this will happen in education as well. And that maybe all third graders in the entire United States will be watching one teacher or one computer AI generated educator for that specific curriculum. I mean, I think it's possible. So I believe that using AI as a tool for creativity, you know, I like what Karen is saying. Essentially, it defeats the point. What is the point if you don't, you know, it's soulless in that way, and in a way that human made music and art and poetry and woodworking and all of these other amazing things that people do. It matters because of the effort. It matters because of the time that person spent developing the skill. So it's really harmful in a million different ways. And, but like I was talking about earlier, really a continuation of a lot of these other themes that we have already been introduced to, but we're certainly kicking it up a notch with the new AI age.
This thing, if we would have known how detrimental this would turn, I mean, I remember when it was just a flip phone with text messaging calling. That's all you needed. But this thing right here was so detrimental to us and our intelligence and our learning and everything else. I thought it would be, okay, here's the sum of all human knowledge almost in your hands. But no, people are watching TikTok videos of guys building pyramids out of milk crates and trying to stand on top of them, for Pete's sake, instead of reading Shelley or, you know, the Bible or whatever it is, you know. I mean, it's like, wow. I thought maybe more people would understand Shakespeare and Macbeth and understand, you know, culture. And no, they're not using it for that. They're using it for stupid stuff. It is insane. Karen.
Oh, I agree. We know Melania Trump is the AI envoy to education and has a huge education AI initiative. And of course, Alison McDowell has done a lot of work around education and the way the AI and the game theory is being used in education. There are booties that children can wear that will track every footstep they make in their preschools, and children, especially education, is being is cradle to grave data gathering, starting, you know, in the education system. So I agree completely. All of the things that the professions that we value as service to humanity that maybe were seen in the past as an avocation, a teacher, a nurse, a doctor, a counselor, those types of things that are supposed to have some empathy, a shoulder to listen, an ear to listen, and hopefully some wisdom and feedback. All of those are in danger of being usurped by AI and an algorithm at this point. And that's the existential threat level here, is that it's removing humanity from our interactions.
Yeah, it's scary stuff. It really is. Terrifying stuff. You have a Ukraine war and artificial intelligence thing.
That's an article. I can't.
How is it crept into the war? I mean, how is it creeping into the war front, the geopolitical front?
This is from Dr. Joseph P. Farrell. I know that Franco's not a fan of Joseph P. Farrell, but he really fascinates me. I really enjoy a lot of his content, and I think he's a genius, basically. But he writes a weekly blog, and he wrote a blog about the Ukraine war, and how, if you think, people will think back a few years ago to the beginning of COVID and the beginning of the unrest, or the open hostilities, the open violence in Ukraine, that Ukraine was talked about being the new Israel. There was talk about Ukraine being the new Israel, that it would be leveled, and that it would be a prototype for autonomous AI government. And we heard those rumblings years ago around the beginning of COVID and when the Ukraine war actually
stiff after sitting.
You can live a very long time without getting
We've
old.
got
My wife just turned
commercials.
74. I'll turn 74.
Thank
in
you, Stephen Gundry.
Drinking warm water
Thank
I'm all
before
over
bed
the place here.
fixes tooth and gum problems overnight. People are healing decay and repairing
I'm not in
gums
studio. I'm
overnight
like
as
doing
they
like
sleep
3
by
things at
adding one
once.
unusual
Okay.
ingredient to a glass of warm
We're hearing
water
a baking
before
soda
bed.
commercial.
If you're over
How is
30 and
that?
struggling with aching,
Wow.
loose, discolored
Okay.
teeth, or
There we go. Is that better?
Okay. So Dr. Farrell he's talking about, again, this is research, this idea that Ukraine will be an AI prototype state. So, and we talked about this, David Knight talked about this, we talked about this, that Ukraine was being leveled, the infrastructure was being cleared so that it could be rebuilt as a prototype autonomous AI government state, AI governance, the new Israel. And I don't know why the Israel part is part of the key, but that it has been in that nomenclature is the new Israel. So this is just an article about that and how that is coming to the forefront again, that discussion of rebuilding when Ukraine is rebuilt. And we know that there are a lot of contracts to be had once we go in and destroy an area, that the contractors may, they've got some sweetheart deals that go moving forward. And so we're going to see that here with Ukraine, it seems, with the AI governance as the infrastructure is rebuilt.
So the AI is like the railroad. Do you guys, Ashley, do you see a way to stop this? It's in everything. It's permeated like absolutely everything.
I don't, and maybe I'm being uncreative. And I was talking to Geese a little bit in the chat about, just making it normal to destroy these types of cameras when we see them. Like, who knows what will happen to you, because unless you're, covering your face and changing your gait and all kinds of things, who knows? But so I really don't know. And I think this is the problem with just corruption in general and the New World Order, or whatever you want to call it, the things moving a certain way, and they have been for a very long time, and the building blocks are getting put into place gradually over time. And I don't know how us, the small group of people that are aware of this could really change it. I don't want to say that it's impossible. I just, currently I don't necessarily have an idea. And I would say that the first key would be for people to reject this digital surveillance state. But I don't even know if that is possible. Like, they need to know about what is happening. But because the, what's the word I'm looking for? The lethargic nature of people, I think, has been stoked. I think people are burnt out. I think they're not healthy. And I think that they have been, they have been scared to death, essentially, like over and over and over. So many events, you always have this scary other thing. It's the communist domino. It's a scary virus. It's a terror threat. It's all the things, right? So at a point, I think that's also done to burn people out as far as their actual physical nervous system. And at a point when you are so burnt out and you are completely dysregulated, and this ties in a lot of the stuff that we've also talked about as far as like broken and dysfunctional families, and people using, addictions being on the increase and things like that, is because people have been under warfare, essentially, and they don't even recognize it. And then you have all of these other day-to-day things going on in life. We have our support systems that have been actively attacked in order to have people battling with one another, with our friends and neighbors, over this, that, and the other thing that actually doesn't matter, in addition to just being a really busy tax cattle, right? And you're trying to maintain your home, and you're trying to take care of your children, and you're trying to cook dinner, and maybe you're trying to find food that doesn't poison you. Like, all of these things, a huge burden. So I'm not saying like, everybody just wake up, you stupid people, because we know that this has been set up this way for people to be distracted, for people to have a difficult time following every single thing that's going on out there. So sorry for being long-winded, Franco, but
no, this is excellent. No,
But I do think that if there was a huge awakening and a huge pushback, that would change it. But it would have to really be a lot of people waking up and being on the same page. And I think that's very challenging when the predator class and the people that control algorithms and things like that have an interest at keeping us at each other's throats. And that is continually actively being stoked. So I don't think it's impossible, but I think that, and I don't have all the answers, but I just think that if we were able to get on the same page, like for example, when Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. You may remember this was back in 2019 and the memes were everywhere and it was on all sides. It was in the truth community. It was on right, left. So many people were talking about how Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. And that is, in my opinion, an example of a meme kind of starting a movement. And we know like many things happen in order to cause distractions and people to not be focusing on that anymore. But I'm just saying, like, it is possible to have a unifying topic amongst all sides.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
They don't want us to know that though.
They
and
don't.
And like you
that
said,
would be a huge start.
Everybody's beat up right now. It's everyone's taking a beating. It's just the cohesiveness is not going to be there. Karen, what were you going to say?
Oh, well, first of all, don't discount the power that we have. That's one of the motives or the purposes here. That one key of the Omni War is to make us feel powerless and small and individual, and that they spend a lot of time and effort making us feel minimalized. And there is a psychological phenomenon that if a person is overloaded with stimuli or trauma or adversity, of any type, you will become overwhelmed, and then you'll go through a dormancy period or a period where your body kind of shuts down and your psyche shuts down and you need to regroup and heal. So it's overwhelm on purpose, which causes demoralization or a shutting down on purpose. And I feel like that's being done to us in mass. We're in mass, we're being overwhelmed, traumatized, and then we all kind of go into a state of stasis or kind of like just trying to tread water and survive and heal enough to move forward and live again, except the barrage never stops now. The 24-hour news cycle, the barrage never stops. So we keep being hit. We never get a chance to recover, stand up and recover and regroup and communicate, form a strategy and do something about this. But there's an example in the small town I grew up in. There's a man I know. He was a friend of my brother's growing up. He's very outspoken on social media, known kind of as a rabble rouser. But he kind of led a movement. There was a new subdivision that was proposed in their small town for 80 new houses, which is a huge amount of houses for that small town that would tax the infrastructure. It was just a greed move. So he posted on his social media, we all need to go to the city council meeting and get this stopped. And it worked. They all went to the city council meeting and they voted no and got that stopped. So I think that if somebody like this man that I know led a movement in that town to stop the flock cameras, and he's very anti-AI. I've talked to him about this, that he sees it as an existential threat to humanity. So if somebody like him, who has a local audience in town, it's a 10,000 person town, but he may have the wherewithal and people know him enough to do something about some of these things. And I think that there are quite a few people that may have that power within their grasp because of the networking they've done throughout their lives, or just the charisma they have, the reputation they have. We may be able to do more than we think we can do. So I just wanted to point that out.
No, and to add to your point, we can always do more than we think we can do because we have that inside of us that no one can reach, and we can protect that. And we have our own immediate, like, physically manifested in front of us, our families, our friends, and our communities, where we can act in a way that's where you can protect yourself and do the most you can to mitigate this multifaceted attack. Postmodern technological multifaceted attack basically is what they've done to us. And there's your power in that as well. And here, I want to move on real quick to this. And you talk about fighting. So I live and this is in my area. This isn't far from my area, these stories. Okay. So people are fighting the data centers. All right. But even with the fighting of the data centers, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of government involvement, and there's a lot of, predestined conclusions without involving the people. Right. So in Ypsilanti, we have U of M is in Ann Arbor, and in Ypsilanti, they have buildings and stuff, and they want to put a huge data center there. And the people, they all went to the city council and they said, hey, we don't want you putting it there. There's wildlife, et cetera, et cetera. It's too close to houses, all of this other stuff. So to throw them a cracker or a bone or to boil the frog a little bit, they said, okay, we'll put it somewhere else. So in that instance, they won, kind of. The data center's not where the people want, they said, we don't want it here, and they're not building it there. But here's the thing. This is what happened. And this is an ongoing thing. Arms were twisted because they were on the road to not having the data center. And then local lawmakers said, okay, the state lawmakers said they're going to pull funding from a separate project that the town of Ypsilanti and U of M had going on that had nothing to do with the data center. And if you don't put this data center somewhere, you're not going to get the $800 billion or whatever it is funding, or 800 million, I think it is, funding for this project. So this is how they're playing. And to my point, now there's another place, Van Buren Township, where lots of people, now this is a sister city to me. I've been hearing about this in my Facebook and everything. Nobody wants this thing. Nobody wants this thing. But because of the law Gretchen Whitmer passed, okay, they have to have this thing because they set the tax subsidies aside for it before they even did the planning on where they were going to build it. So the tax subsidies have already been put aside. What does a tax subsidy mean? That means we're paying for it. That's what that means. So not only don't we want it, but now you're making us pay for it. And this is a 1 gigawatt data center. That is enough to power 800,000 homes. There are not 800,000 homes in Ypsilanti, Van Buren, Belleville, the whole area around here. You're talking probably the Metro Detroit area. 1 gigawatt of electricity. And that'll power 800,000 homes. That's what they're putting up. This Ron Akers guy, I've been in front of this guy. I know this guy, corrupt as a squirrely $3 bill. I've been in front of him opening businesses before. Total tyrant. Anyways, these people have all signed, our city council, this city council has signed state lawmakers, okay, a non-disclosure agreement. So they can't even talk about what it's all about. The details are extremely limited. Nobody knows what kind of air pollution, what kind of noise pollution, where they're going to get the power, how they're going to facilitate the power. And this is an area where these three cities, they face blackout. My power went out 2 hours before the show. I texted Karen. I said, my power just went out. So we're already having problems, and they're going to add this thing in there. So my point is that as much as we push back, as many citizens showed up, you couldn't fit a piece of paper in that city council room. Okay. And people saying no, and they railroad it. You can take my screen down if you want, because I think that's all of our stuff. But I mean, they're going to make this happen. So what's the next step? My thing is this. You are the next step. Your family, your friends, your spiritual health, making sure your surrogate activities are healthy for you, not getting into even this stuff too much. I am going to focus on what I need to prepare for. I know is coming. We all know it's coming. Now it's time for me to focus on preparing for that. Learning, maybe, like I said, 50% staying aware, knowledge time anyway, 50%, preparing and learning something new.
Absolutely. I put a link in your X, a short video of another person who's fighting against a data center. There's a doctor in Tennessee. He bought 2 parcels of land. I think it's 200 or so acres, I think 30 years ago. And he's trying to preserve that land to hunt on and farm on. And he's been offered many millions of dollars to sell it for data centers. And he's trying to stand up against the data centers and says that he wants to save that land, preserve that land for his family, nature, to to hunt on and to farm on. And he says that money can't buy you happiness. So there's a short video there about that, and I'll retweet it on my X if anybody's interested in seeing that. But this is in Kentucky currently. A doctor is trying to fight the good fight and take a stand and keep his land.
I think we'll find that people are fighting these things everywhere, just like they fought the railroad. It's not in there yet. Did you hit send? Because I do that all the time.
I sent it earlier today.
Oh, okay. I'll try to find it.
One more, I think.
Ashley.
I may have sent it on our chat. I can't remember which.
Yes, I do think that on an individual town-to-town level, this can be something that can be fought for sure. I've used this example before, and there was actually a documentary about it. Certain towns, because Walmart did this in a way. Obviously, it was not, for their super centers, it wasn't using the same amount of resources that a giant data center would be using, but it took a lot of land and a lot of resources to have that in certain towns. So there's a documentary about small towns being able to actually fight and say, we do not want this in our town. And so it is certainly possible for the community to get together and at least in some cases try to push back on that. But the other point that I wanted to make is that when we're talking about the war on people, as far as our relationships and our life and how we feel and our food and our health and all of these things, and I would say that there's probably most people that have some form of PTSD or complex PTSD, and that is associated with having a dysregulated nervous system. And that makes you more fragile in being able to stand up to the normal stresses of everyday life. And it also makes it more difficult for you to maintain healthy relationships. And I think that this has all been done intentionally, and it is something that I think contributes to the war on empathy. So when you go online and you see people being really, really ugly to a stranger for really no reason, but I think oftentimes the war on empathy is being stoked, and then you have people that are very close to the breaking point. And so I would just encourage us all to realize that all of us have been put through the ringer, and it is intentional to push us to the brink, I think, and to have us stressed out, to have our cortisol blazing, to have people in a state of complex PTSD, and it makes you less of a clear thinker and less functional as a person. And it certainly makes you more likely to have difficulty maintaining relationships. But we need each other. We, our friends and our neighbors, we are not the enemy. And I think that everyone knows that, but I just want to reiterate that we are fighting the enemy, which is the predator class, which is the prince of darkness, all of these things, evil, the spiritual warfare, all of that. But we each other are not. So I would just encourage us all to try to have more empathy and sympathy for each other, and online and in real life, and just know that we are not the enemy, but we have been, a coordinated campaign has been put into place to make us feel like each other is the enemy. And that's part of the distraction as well.
No, I that's why I push. The most important thing is your spirit. If they get it, that goal is your soul. All this physical realm stuff is it's fleeting. We all know this in one way or another. It's fleeting. We have to make sure that we don't let them egg us on into hating someone else, taking us out of our spiritual box, knocking us off our spiritual square. And that doesn't mean you're weak. To love and to look at things in a perspective with love is something that takes more strength, 1,000 times more strength. It's so easy to hate somebody and say, look at the normies, look at the Democrat, look at the conservative, whoever the group might be, and say, I hate them, because it's being piped into us. And that's why I push and push and push on that.
The data center, I did put that 2-minute video about the data center in Kentucky in our X right now. And Bronk was asking where in Kentucky. It says Maysville, Kentucky. The man is being offered $8 million. But then he was also asked, name your price. How much do you want for that land? And he would not sell it. And Wheezy, what is truth, keeps saying tigers roar, tigers roar.
I can't, Wheezy, I can't do it because I'm not.
He's not taking no. Perhaps you need to roar anyway.
I don't know how to roar. He wants me to like roar, roar, roar. That's about the best I can do, buddy. I'm 51 years old. If I roar too much, I might have a stroke. Oh man. What was I gonna say? Brian Deb's asking me in the chat if I covered the China not exporting any. So I seen that. I have not covered that. I find that's probably because the BRICS is pulling itself together in a way that is going to be superior to us. Because even if they do a digital currency, even if they're talking about their basket of goods backing their digital currency, and precious metals like silver and gold are going to be in that basket of goods. So I would imagine that they're probably going to want to hold on to that so they can, and they'll still use those commodities in that basket of goods. They'll just inflate the amount of commodities that they have so they can, it'll still be fiat. It'll still be a fiat system. They're just saying we're using these things to back things. But that would actually go to the point of, they're preparing to back all of their currencies over in the BRICS nations with hard commodities. That could be a reason for the move. That's me just guessing. Another reason for the move is maybe people are right. Maybe there's a liquidity crisis with silver. I think there is. But here's my thing. When you can't go to Wise Wolf or JM Bullion, or I can't go to my local guy down the street and buy silver coins, then that there's a shortage. So that we're not close to that yet. So just keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. Forget about what you hear. Okay. It's almost like I said with dogs. Dogs, it's nose, eyes, ears. With humans, it's eyes, gut, ears on the ground, not in the digital world. You got to stay real. What do you see going on around you? Walmart or Costco is still selling silver bars. Okay. That means there's a large amount of bars out there for a big company like that to be able to buy them. I go to my buddy's silver shop. He's got coins everywhere. They're not going anywhere. You're still getting your wolf packs. So just terra firma and don't panic.
I agree.
So I think
you wanted to go an hour and a half or so. We're at 1:42. We've covered a lot of territory. Do you want to wrap it up? It's up to you. We could go all day actually on these topics.
We could. I think let's it's Christmas time. This is supposed to be the Christmas episode. Sorry, we brought you a gigantic bag of coal covered with technocratic orange juice. What a nightmare. Here's the thing though. Any questions in the chat, anybody, we're going to monitor it. Anything you guys want to say? We definitely, I want to give the chat the floor. Well, I just, my message to everybody going into the new year is don't be scared. Hold on to your faith, protect your spirit, get closer to the things that they want to unplug us from, nature, and your family and love, and keep that spirit of love in your heart going forward. We're going to need it. That's the most powerful thing in the universe, ladies and gentlemen. Tap into that. It's everywhere. Karen.
Well, my motto for several years has been guard your humanity. And I think that it's becoming quite clear why that's my motto. To me, this is intuitive. I have an intuitive feeling to recoil from the advanced technology. I'm so grateful to have been raised in nature in pursuit of the best fly fishing spots in the Western United States, every opportunity my father got. So I developed a great appreciation for the solitude of nature and that connectivity to God through nature. And I'm with you. I'm a Luddite in many, many ways. And it's not that I feel that there's anything bad inherently in a car or in reducing labor. And I've said this many times, and I know I feel bad repeating myself over and over in all these different shows, but the point of the matter is that most of the technology that we're dealing with now, the advanced technology, the communications technology, the broadcasting technology, if you go back to the radio, the telegraph, the television, the Wi-Fi, the cell phones, all of these things have been meant to have been developed by dark money, by all developed by dark money for dark purposes. These things have been developed purposefully to be used as tools or weapons against us to gain control in so many ways. And we're at the culmination, and it's been a slow, as Franco says, boiling the frog. This has been so hard to watch for so many of us that have been aware of this agenda for 10, 15 years, some people even longer. And when COVID hit, I thought, oh my gosh, they're actually doing something, because I knew that this was coming for a long time. But when they actually started doing something overtly, it was quite a shock. But it's been just so painful to watch it unfold in slow motion. And it continues to move. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill. And I think we're to the point where the snowball is gathering momentum, and the controlled demolition at some point will crash. It will hit bottom. But the point is, guard your humanity, guard the children, take care of the children, heal yourself if you can, take care of yourself. You matter. And remember that you're a spiritual being having a physical experience, and that in the end, we aren't here for all that long. So value the people that you have the opportunity to value, and do what you can, fight the good fight. And that's really all you can do.
Wow, you remind me of that Elizabeth Barrett poem. One of the lines is, well, weep the children beneath you. And the children, what's going to happen to them? Ashley.
Yeah, I think that this has been very well said. There's a lot of food for thought in regards to the AI and the digital surveillance state conversation. But I like the positive note that, yes, you can affect yourself and your family and your friends. And there is still a lot of good things out there for us to be grateful for and appreciative of. So I am not somebody who, I have been down the black pill path myself many times there and back. And I don't wish for other people to be there. So, and I know that it's hard out there. So I just want to encourage people that we do have each other. We do have, a lot of good things in our life. So please don't despair about these things. And at a point, and maybe this is fatalistic of me, and I don't know if that's right or wrong, but I just think at a point, some of these things are going to play out in the wheel of time. And it was meant to be that way, and it may not always be good for us, but we can stand for what is good, and for the people that are good, and for what we love and what we care about, and what we can have gratitude for today. And please don't think that I'm preaching. I myself have to remind myself of this, and I can certainly get very pissy about things, so I am trying to remind myself of this stuff as well. And I also, before we go, I wanted to shout out the chat. I saw up to 88 watching, which is really, really nice to have that many people joining us live. And I'm just going to run through our folks really quick. And again, if I forgot anyone, I'm so sorry. I try to keep track of that, and make sure that you like, subscribe, share the show, hit that notification bell so you're reminded when we go live, and feel free to leave a comment. We always love to see that. Karen replies back to everybody, and I try to give a like if I can. So thank you for doing that, Karen. We had Little Johnny Boy, Spirit of the Age, Bride B. Mac, which is Deb, Skunk Hollow Rose Gardens, and was able to join us live today. Very nice to have you. Nostradamus, Sweets, Misfit 1904, Tom, LT, Oracle of Truth. We had Jason Barker with us today as he travels. We had Dad Guy, Patrick, Bronx Stomper, Providence Wins, Denver Attaway, Bulldog, CJP Rumble, Dustin Helm, Birdhouse Blues, A Dingo Ate Me Baby, Andy, Go Start, Ronnie Omelets, Do Not Obey, Frankie M, Chris Graves, Geesebusters, I'm Marty, Alien Poop Evolution, Ricky at Anything Is Possible, Rocky USA 33, Robin Lee, Billy Ray Valentine popped in the chat for a moment, and our friend Wheezy. So thank you so much to everybody for all of your comments, your encouragement, your participation. I look forward to seeing you every single week. Karen, Franco, thank you both very much for an excellent show with a lot of really good information.
No, thank you, Ashley. Guys, thanks for having me. Lieutenant Oracle of Truth says, I think they're saying without love, the world is shit, and I would agree. What else do we have here? I think it was Alien Poop Evolution said, keep your individuality. Very, very important. I see Birdhouse Blues in there and Robin Lee. I'm not sure if you mentioned them. And Geesebusters. Yeah. Okay, cool. Everybody, I love you guys. Tony Ty, I see he's in there.
There's Tony. Yay.
I'm Angry Tiger.
Tony, sorry.
If you haven't subscribed to my Rumble, could you do that for me? That would be great. Angry Tiger on Rumble and Angry Tiger's newsletter. You guys know where to find these wonderful people. Saturday, Eastern, 2 p.m. Eastern time. Every Saturday they're there. Jason Barker. He's a gale force blowing down the walls of tyranny. And it was an honor to fill in his shoes today and be here with these two big brains. I think my brain is about to explode. And love everybody here. Love you guys. Love the chat. And, with that being said, I don't know how you guys close it. How is it? Tighten up your armor. Sharpen your sword of love.
Karen knows. Let's throw it over to Karen.
Okay. Yeah. And I want to say prayers for people who are struggling. I know there are several in our community that have family members or are personally struggling. So our thoughts and prayers are with you all. And what we need to say here is keep your sword sharp, your armor tight, and shine your light.
There you go.
Until we meet again.
Okay. Until we meet again. We'll see you later, everyone. Thank you. And just as a side note, I was on in-stream duty and I was just typing away to the chat. So here we go.
Me too.
Bye-bye.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.